So this assignment is going to ask you to design a study where you look at composing or writing and question how exactly you might go about studying that. So we looked at the video of the writer online, and I asked you to think about if you were to try to learn something about that writer's composing practice, how might you go about doing that? So there's two parts to this assignment. The first part is designing a study where you go and research somebody else's writing. This could take the form of perhaps interview questions, talk alouds where you ask the person to vocalize out loud what they're doing, as well as perhaps observations where maybe you're sitting behind them and you're trying to observe what they're doing, trying to learn about it. The challenge with this assignment is for you to identify the why and the how. So why are you going to go about studying writing or composing in a particular way? And then how are you going to go about doing that? And the research paper will emerge because you're going to do this study based on the why and how. And then you're going to think about your results. So you go and do this brief little study where you observe somebody or you interview somebody, and you try and gather what we might think of as data. You're going to have to analyze that data and try and extract meaning from it. And in the process of extracting meaning from that, I'm going to want you to do some research in databases, library holdings, where you go and find things that relate to what you're doing. So that could take the form of, for example, if you were studying somebody composing a poem, looking up things on poetry and writing, and bringing in those sources to the conversation that you're trying to build. So basically, this research paper is not just you doing library research. It's you designing a study that actually has as a question how to go about studying writing. And then the library component is you bringing in sources that help you to make a discussion happen or materialize. So this is a really, really, really tough assignment, but we have roughly 5.5 weeks to work on it. And I'm going to be grading this in two ways. First off, the study design. I want you to focus on that question of how or why might you go about studying writing in a particular way, writing or composing. So by writing or composing, I mean you could actually study somebody composing or writing music, or composing perhaps a mural if you have friends that are over in DAB. So I'm leaving that composing element really, really wide and broad, because I think that if you look at composing in different forms, there are things that can transfer or translate into thinking about writing. So that first part is going to be the study design, and I'm going to grade you on that question of how and why. So I want you to engage that question in your paper. The second part of your paper is going to be your results. So you designed the study, you had a how and why, and then what were the results of your study? So let's say you did an hour-long observation. What did you see and what could you learn from that? And how generalizable are what you learned in terms of writing? So did you see something that maybe translates into a larger framework for thinking about writing? Really tough stuff. So in that part, I'm going to want you to bring in readings that help you talk about your topic. So for example, if you looked at somebody composing a mural, I'm going to want you to try and find sources that help you discuss that topic. That could include sources that provide history of the particular craft, or provide discussions about invention in mural writing. So we're going to have a library visit on Thursday, and I challenge you all to think about a possible topic over the weekend. So as part of your library visit, I strongly urge you to think about a way you can find sources that perhaps put your study into a larger context. Okay? So the two things that I'm grading you on, the how or why question in your study design in the first part of the paper. The second part, I'm grading you on how you bring in outside sources to help contextualize the results of your study. Now, this is not going to look perfect. This is going to be a really, really difficult assignment. There's going to be a lot of difficulties here. But the strength of the assignment is that you're going to think about writing research. you're going to do writing research, and then you're going to look at probably other examples of scholarship on writing research to help you talk about your project. So in terms of base skills and objectives, you're going to get some experience designing a study. You're also going to get a lot of experience coding your data and also working with primary and secondary source material. The primary material being your actual observational interview data, etc. And then the secondary material being that library work that you did. So we're going to look at both of those things. So think about this as a basic primer in doing research in the humanities, so humanities, social sciences, and then also a basic primer to doing work with primary and secondary sources. Okay. In addition to that, we're going to be tackling a lot of conceptual problems, and we'll do that as a class. So the strength of doing all these things together as a group is that we're able to share and learn from each other's studies. So think of yourselves not as students, but as writing researchers. You're in a Writing 102 class. This is your first year at university, and you are now writing researchers.